Hey all, here OS Reviews. It's now summer in many places around the world, and it's a great time to go outdoors and explore. But if you're driving in your car and you want to bring along some food, it can spoil quickly in the heat. So today we're taking a look at a smart mini travel fridge or cooler from Asobi under their X series. This one in particular is the X40K because it has a 40-liter or 42-quart capacity inside. Although other sizing, including 30 liters as well as 50 liter, can also be found if you need something smaller or larger, and they will be called the X30 or the X50 instead. But they all share a similar functionality in terms of having built-in wheels as well as a handle, making it a little easier to tote around, and it will be still small enough to place into the back of a car trunk when you are traveling. Plus, what makes it smart is it does have built-in Bluetooth with a companion app that you can download on your phone for Android or iOS, allowing you to wirelessly control the temperature settings from a little bit further away. And what makes this model kind of special is there are two compartments similar to a larger home fridge. There's kind of a cooler part as well as a freezer part, so you're able to set two different temperature zones. So if you want to bring some ice cream or popsicles, you can keep it completely frozen, in addition to maybe a slightly cooler zone for things like fruits or beverages instead. That is different from the majority of other smaller coolers or mini fridges that I've seen, which only have one temperature that you can set it to with just one large compartment. But again, this one divides it into half. And it's also extremely quiet. Right now it's actually operating, and it's less than 40 decibels in terms of sound, which is another improvement compared to some of the past small portable cooler fridges that we've seen that tend to be around 50 to 100 decibels, so noticeably louder when it's turning on. You can kind of hear it whirling, but this thing is quiet enough for it to kind of be just a comfortable white noise in the background, not very distracting at all. This smart mini cooler also has built-in LED lights when you open it up, so you'll be able to see what is inside, even in darker environments. Even includes a small cutting board as part of its collapsible design. And there's also an optional rechargeable battery that you can pop in if you want to use it when you're camping, for example, or away from an outlet, although it does come with both a car charger as well as a home charger as well. But the optional power bank will allow you to operate when you are not connected even to any power source. That being said, that rechargeable battery, as you can tell, there is actually not built into the model by default. It needs to be purchased separately, which is one slight con. And there's also a USB charging port on the side as well that you can use to charge your smartphone when you are in a hurry or in a pinch. So something like this can be quite convenient if you're going camping, using it in an RV, or if you're just trying to live off the grid, having a house on wheels, and you just need a compact mini fridge. This actually might be an interesting option. So you can use both as freezers or both as coolers, depending on how much space you need. You can configure that yourself. They can reach the same freezing temperature if needed. Claims to also be very quick to cool down from 68 degrees Fahrenheit to 32 degrees in less than 15 minutes. The specific cooling range, by the way, is -4 degrees Fahrenheit to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, or -20 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius. And of course, there is a temperature regulator and smart sensor inside, meaning that's actually not going to be whirling 24/7 either. Even though it's already very quiet, it sometimes just turns off if it knows that the internal temperatures are cold enough, and it only kicks on again when necessary. In terms of packaging, you have, of course, the mini cooler or fridge, as well as a quick user guide, which, by the way, is also where you can scan the QR code to download the companion app, which is optional. There are built-in controls on the side that you can use to change that yourself manually if needed, along with the small LED screen that we'll see in a moment. You also get a screwdriver, and that's for attaching these two wheels at the bottom. Although it comes detached out of the factory, you simply have to screw it in, taking really just about a minute for each wheel. And then the power supply, right now we're connected to a wall outlet, but there's also a car adapter as well, plugging it into the cigarette port instead when you're in an RV, truck, or just regular car. Right now it's actually turned completely off. It will be silent because it has detected that the temperature is now cold enough, and that's the compressor. You can tell that the overall construction is decent. It's built out of this polycarbonate plastic with some additional reinforcement on the corners, providing some additional cushion against some drops and shocks as you are handling it. and there are handles on both sides which allows you to carry it. That being said, this will definitely be heavier as compared to a regular cooler that's not electrical, since there's a lot more components inside. In fact, it weighs close to 40 pounds, so just keep that in mind. It really is still designed to be toted around using the wheel, I would say, as opposed to being really carried for longer distances, and that's without any food inside. So despite the small form factor, definitely a little on the heavier side, but it is, again, very energy efficient. Anyways, here we have all the controls. So these will correspond to the two different zones. You can adjust the temperature to be higher or lower on each of them separately. You'll also find the dedicated power key as well as the setting icon that allows you to go between a max versus an eco mode. Eco will consume less power and also have it slightly more quiet. Now here is also the built-in USB Type-A port if you want to use it as a charger for your phone. It is a standard speed charger though at 5 volt 2 amps, so it's not going to give it necessarily the fastest charging rates. It's not really a GAN charger, but again still works, and most phones will get charged up in just around an hour and a half to 2 hours when you're plugging it in, and stop charging when it reaches 100%. Further located at the bottom here is the optional slot for the battery. If you have that accessory, it just slots in like so. And on the other side, we have just the handle that you can use to tote it around more easily onto a flat ground or surface. A closer look at the inner compartments. Again, this first one is a little bit smaller, so the depth actually goes to about halfway, because further down below the section, again, is the compressor. So this one is really more suited for smaller objects, like, for example, some sauce that I have in here, a couple of cans of soda. As reference, this is a 6.5-inch smartphone, just to provide another frame of reference for the size as well as the depth. And there's also going to be a light here on the side that makes it easier to see what you have inside. There's also a basket which is included and makes it easier to lift up and remove different objects if you're going camping. But you can of course remove that basket and just use the inner bin as well if you prefer. Now here on the very top, you can see that the door also has some rubber seals to prevent any leakage of the colder temperature on the inside, as well as some additional references for the device specs and what the ideal temperatures should be if you're storing different types of food. In contrast, the second compartment is definitely much larger in terms of volume. You still have the light, making it easier to see what's on the inside, but this time around we can much more comfortably fit even larger containers of various beverages, as you can tell there. And the depth here is, again, going all the way down to the base of the mini fridge, so it's a lot deeper. Here are a couple more objects that we can place inside, such as, let's say, an apple. Not to mention other fruits and veggies that you may want to carry with you when on the road, and it still fits in really comfortably. So significantly larger volume here on this particular compartment. We still have the optional tray, which we can lift up if you want even more capacity, and it might be easier if you want to remove everything at once for loading and unloading purposes. So in this example, we have our grocery store haul of various beverages as well as fruits, soups, so on and so forth, all fitting really without any problems. And once again, here it is next to kind of an average size phone. So this one is actually quite similar to a grocery store basket in size, again constructed out of metal. Also on this side is going to be the aforementioned optional little cutting board. So if we pop that off, we could actually use this onto the top of the mini fridge as a flat surface for cutting those fruits and vegetables, even for eating some of your foods. So a pretty convenient 2-in-1 design there. You can also bring along something like a electric stove or a gas mini stove, and then use this as your makeshift on-the-road kitchen. Last but not least, I'll mention this is what the packaging looks like, just a cardboard box, and it draws 60 watts when you are using it in the AC or DC modes. So here's the companion app, which is called Smart Car Fridge, and if we jump on the inside, it does require us to turn on location services and Bluetooth. So we're going to tap on Add. You can hear a beep there as confirmation on the fridge. We're going to tap on the OK button there as well. And so after being connected, we're able to, again, manage some of the properties, such as the temperature of the two compartments. Right now we have the left side to be a little colder at 34 degrees, the right side smaller one to be, again, a little higher, but this can be completely adjusted based on your preferences. The eco versus max mode, as well as the voltage that's currently draining, is also shown. Battery level for some reason is showing 100%, even though there is no battery really inside. So ideally they would update the software in the future to say something like not applicable or NA to avoid confusion, because again, the default kit doesn't come with that part. If you unplug it from power, it's going to turn off. Otherwise, you can also manually turn the entire fridge on or off from here, and then under more advanced settings, you can also go into the temperature control for the left and the right side, And interestingly, you can also set it to be eco or max mode separately or independently for the two compartments, as well as use either degrees Celsius or degrees Fahrenheit. Last but not least, if the temperature really drops quickly or power is running out when you have a battery, there's going to be some notifications that you can see here on the final tab. One final feature here is going to be a graph that you can generate to see how the temperature deviates over time. So unlike a smartwatch, it seems it's not able to maybe hold the data in its built-in storage quite as well. You do need to be connected to the phone app if you want to record that data in that chart. Maybe another feature I would like to see added in a future update would be some type of anti-loss function. Similar to an Apple Find My tag, you might be able to ring an alarm or locate its last known location when it was connected to your phone and using your phone's GPS, something like that. The actual temperature seems to be quite accurate as well. When placing objects and keeping it frozen, such as, again, popsicles as well as ice cream, they were indeed still very cold and hard when I took them out of the mini fridge. So definitely going to keep the food safe. Nothing really melted. And again, all the beverages, soups, as well as different sodas that I placed in were still nice and tasty, refreshing when I was consuming it. So I felt like it was pretty accurate. I never felt like the temperature really dropped since the texture of the ice cream remained quite creamy. So it was pretty good at keeping things consistently frozen. And I was running this fridge as well during testing indoors for around 3 to 4 days continuously, and it never really got disrupted when it came to performance. So pretty good effectiveness for cooling, and the actual display temperatures seem to be accurate enough so far. Maybe the only two slight cons, the first one would be when I first took it out of the packaging, because it is constructed out of this, again, Coleman style polycarbonate plastic, there was kind of a strong plastic odor when I first opened up the fridge. But after about a day or two, it mostly dissipated. And last but not least, a point that we already briefly touched on earlier would be I do wish they would have just included the battery in the default kit. I think that could make it even more versatile. But overall, it is what it is. I would say as a small mini fridge / cooler, it is surprisingly working quite well, and actually might be my favorite one tested thus far. The build quality seems to be quite sturdy, as well as the fact that you can control two separate compartments independently is definitely unique, in addition to the very quiet compressor, while maintaining freezing temperatures plus the smart app control are all good points for this particular model. You can learn more details if interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Abasi X40 Mini Smart Cooler Refrigerator.